Hello, welcome to the John's Jam Sessions podcast. And today we have our very first guest, Jamie, back here once again. Hello, Jamie.
Hello, John.
Hopefully, we can hear you a lot better this time.
Yeah, I think so.
Jamie, I was doing a bit of a look back through the past episodes, and I went all the way back to the first episode that we did, all about our band Saturn Split. And I was listening to it, and I thought, well, back when we recorded that, we were still the Who Asked for This podcast, which wasn't really originally meant to be a music podcast. But every time I brought a guest on, all he wanted to do was talk about music. So it evolved into the John's Jam Sessions. So I thought we'd come back to that topic today,
Yeah.
and also get into a bit more just kind of like our personal experiences in the band, being in bands, local bands, and kind of like our thoughts on what kind of the state of local original music is at the moment, and some of the things that frustrate me. Certainly, I want to kind of get into a lot of the positives as well. So I think a good way to kind of start this is kind of right from the beginning, our origins. What got you into being a musician? What age were you? What instrument did you decide to pick up? Who or what inspired you to be a musician?
So there were a few things. I don't know if you remember, but back in the late 90s, early 2000s, wrestling was quite a big thing.
Yeah, I was never into wrestling. I had a lot of friends who were, but for myself, it never did anything for me.
Yeah, but they had like a lot of rock music and new metal. So
Yeah.
it was like the Undertaker's theme was "Rolling" by Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, I was going to say Limp Bizkit had a huge part in like wrestling songs and that, didn't he?
Yeah. That got me into that type of music, but it was when I first heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and that's when I thought, I want to. This is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
And then maybe a year later, I heard "God Save the Queen" by the Sex Pistols, and that was another point where I was. Yeah.
What part of them songs like appeal to you? Because I know you as a guitarist. I know you're a multi-instrumentalist. I know you can play a range of instruments, but you would say you are a guitarist, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
at heart?
yeah.
So
Definitely.
was it the guitar in them songs? Was it like the riffs, the solos? Like what part of them songs grabbed out to you and went, I want to do that?
It was the feeling, really, more than anything. I mean, you'll know yourself, I was never really one for solos. I think about
No.
90%
It's
of
hard as a
guitar
try.
solos they just don't need to exist a
Yeah.
lot of the time. But I think it was just the anger in "God Save the Queen." The sort of the angst, I suppose. They're just feelings that you get a lot, aren't you? But when
Yeah.
you're a teenager. So.
I think two interesting things about the two songs you pulled up there and how they inspired you is, you had the Sex Pistols that were punk. They were kind of like, they were a rebellion against many things in a way, but one thing in particular was they were kind of like a rebellion at the state of rock at the time, where rock was going. So like, for example, they constantly had beef with Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
who at this time were, going super prog, getting 16, 17-minute songs, really masters of their craft. And punk was a bit of a reclaim, wasn't it? It was taking that music back
Yeah.
to everyone, really. So, to play music that everyone can play.
Yeah.
So, and again with grunge did a similar thing. The 80s was filled with these elaborate hair metal bands and all this, guitar wizardry and guitar trickery.
Yeah.
And, Kurt Cobain came in and kind of ripped up the rule book and did immeasurable damage to a lot of their bands' careers at that point, and really just changed the face of music. So I can see that being a good influence in a way, and it definitely matches your kind of playing and style.
Yeah.
That kind of grungy, punky kind of playing, where it is, it doesn't have to be all this technical and, complex solos and all these like interest, like all these crazy chord changes. It is just sometimes thrashing the strings a bit and making a bit of noise. So I can completely see how you could take them songs. It's funny that you say Nirvana, because Nirvana, similarly, even though these days I'm not the biggest fan, but also a huge influence on myself. So funnily enough, it was a similar kind of start to yourself. I always imagine myself as a singer.
Yeah,
Um, I was heavily inspired by kind of the storytelling aspect of music. So I was like, when I was very young, I was a massive fan of Pink Floyd, the opposite to Sex Pistols.
yeah,
But it was the songwriting and Iron Maiden as well. And I remember when I'd see Bruce Dickinson when I saw them live, Iron Maiden live, and also footage. It was just seeing him like run around the stage like a lunatic, just
yeah.
constant.
He's
Although
full of
he,
energy, isn't
yeah,
he, Bruce
full of
Dickinson?
energy, and it's like I always looked at that and went, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that. The problem is I couldn't sing anything like anything like Bruce Dickinson, anything like that. And I think this is obviously we'll get into it in a bit, but this is where kind of Saturn Split, it kind of pushed me to the forefront where I took up singing, and that's where I did gain a lot more appreciation for like grunge and punk because it was that kind of it doesn't have to be you don't have to have a voice like Freddie Mercury, you don't have
Yeah,
to have a voice like Bruce Dickinson, as long as you can put kind of the emotion and the feel into it. You know it's there. You can work from something.
yeah.
But before I carry on with my story, so you were inspired by the likes of Nirvana and the Sex Pistols. What age were you when you finally got an instrument and started to learn?
I think I was about 12. I've been playing guitar for a lot longer than I'd like to admit at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, I think it will have been about 12 years old when it happened. It was a red Squire.
hmm
I just tried to learn as much as I could. I would practice for
Yeah.
sort of 4 or 5 hours a day at the expense of doing homework and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, fuck home, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of an obsession for a few years.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did also want to be a singer, but I've never been particularly good at it or particularly confident with it. So I just had to take a back seat with that in a way.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Again, like the only reason I ever like to this day when I tell people that I play music and I do music, I would never say, oh, I'm a singer.
Yeah,
In fact, it's always something that like I'm a little bit embarrassed about whenever I explained I was in the band in Saturn Split. They'd be like, oh, what do you do? And the first thing I'd always come up with is I play the bass, and they'd be
yeah,
like, all right, okay, and then I'd be like. I also sing,
yeah,
and they were like, "All right, okay, all right." I think my time in Saturn Split definitely helped me become a singer. I definitely wouldn't say I was a singer before that. I could do little bits and bobs, but I really kind of learned to discipline and kind of find my voice in Saturn Split. But to kind of go back to my instrument history is a bit more messier than that. I wish I could say it was the similar. I wish I could say I picked up a guitar at 12 and didn't put it down. I left it. I feel like I left it quite late because no one in my family really like played music. Not when I was around anyway. I think they might have done when I was younger. So there was no one around me playing the music. Again, I'd watch these bands like Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses. I'd see the stage performances, and I was like, wow, I would love to do that. But my eyes were always fixated on the lead singer until Nirvana came along.
yeah.
So I got
So
really
what was
big,
it,
massive.
Chris Novoselic? Then after that,
What's that?
were you looking at Chris Novoselic at that point?
No, you see, this is it. The bass story. I hate to admit it, but I was one of them guitarists who turned into a bassist.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that is what it is. I'd be in school and I'd have mates that played instruments and played in bands and stuff. And I'd, like at lunch times and break times after school, I'd sit in and watch their rehearsals, and like I'd just be dying of jealousy inside. I'd be like, I want to do that so much, but I don't have an instrument. I can't sing. I was really envious, and it got to the point where I was like, I need to get an instrument. I need to start learning. Like I've left this too late. So I think I must have been about 15 when I got a guitar, which was an Encore, them
yeah,
really
yeah,
cheap brands. Like it was an Encore, kind of impersonation of a Fender
yeah.
Squire. I started picking it up. I tried learning myself. I went for guitar lessons and started picking up bits and starting learning it. But then after that, I moved away and lived at college for a bit, so I wasn't getting the lessons. So kind of my progress kind of froze
Yeah,
at that point,
yeah.
and I kind of just didn't really bother with it for a couple of years, and then it was only until the courses I was doing in college I was like not happy with. I was like, I don't want to do this as a job. This is not what I want to be a fucking rock star.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to do music or be in the media or something like that. So around 2009, I was like, right, I've had enough. I want to go to college. I want to study music. Picked the guitar back up and started trying to reset everything and start again from scratch. And I thought, I'm punching a bit above my weight here, moving into a music college with a guitar and not being able to play it. But I was kind of hoping that it'd be kind of like thrust on me a bit and like, it'd be like, learn fast or, sink or swim
Yeah.
in a way. So, I started going to college with my guitar. As you can imagine, a class of kids in a music college, there's about 20 guitarists,
Yeah.
2 bassists, and about like 3 drummers. So what they did is they kind of got us into groups and we had to like kind of form. But I spoke about this on the live gigs episode, but they like made us form bands. Not being the best at the guitar, I got handed the bass guitar and said, you get on that. I was like, blood, I've never even like picked one of these up in my life. I've got no idea, but it instantly kind of like snapped to me, and like it just felt so much more of like a comfortable instrument for me to kind of play. And I was like, it was like it was that click. It was like that kind of like, hang on, this works. This works really well. And I wanted to be good at this instrument because I think the thing with bass and bass guitars is I will admit that it is an easy instrument to play, but it's not an easy instrument to master.
Yeah.
It's not an easy instrument. If you want to be good at it, you can be good at it. If you want to be all right at it, you can be all right at it. I didn't want to be all right at it. I wanted to be good at it.
Yeah.
My stepdad had a bass that was just kind of gathering dust in his little utility room. So, I asked if I could have that. He gave it to me, and then that was it. Then it was like, it was a newfound love. It was a bit later in life, again, around 18 years old. But, I just never put it down. And I started, I was like, right, I'm going to learn all the Red Hot Chili Pepper riffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn how to like slap pop the bass, all these crazy things. Because, I still want to show off a little and, as I say, be good at the instrument. So that was kind of, it took a while to get there, but that was my, how I got into my instruments.
Was it in Eastham? That
It was in Eastham.
I did
It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, Carlett Park. Yeah. It was crazy, that place. It was like no wonder it no longer exists.
Yeah.
That's what I can say. I guess that's like our music histories, really. So we can kind of move into our band histories. What was the first band that you would ever? What was it? Saturn Split, or had you done anything before Saturn Split?
So I was in a band with some people from school when I was about 13 or 14. We had different names. All of them are a bit cringy now, but very much the type of names you'd expect from a late 90s, early noughties bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
Cirque du Freak and stuff like that. That didn't really go anywhere. We didn't play any gigs, but I was the singer and the guitarist in that. We had a bassist. We did have another guitarist for a while, and then the usual 15 drummers as well. Then I was in, again, we didn't really gig, but I used to play with my cousin, who's just ridiculously talented. We could play. He was like grade 8 on the piano by the time he went to secondary school and plays the drums and all this sort of stuff. Then I was in a band in school, despite, no offence if you two are listening, despite being much better guitarist than the other 2 guitarists, I got put on bass because they couldn't find a bassist. Yeah, so after that, didn't really do anything for a while. Then I moved to Manchester, met some people there, ended up in a kind of R&B band.
Alright, okay.
But
when you say R&B, do you mean like old classic, like 50s rock and roll kind of R&B kind of thing, or do you mean like the 90s?
Yeah, the 90s stuff.
Alright, okay.
It was so the first single they did was that song "Don't Let Go." I don't know if I'm gonna sing it, but
no.
But I mean that got like 25,000 views on YouTube almost overnight.
Well, it was a cover, yeah.
Yeah. And then we did some of our own stuff. There is still a gig of us up playing, which again got a decent reception. But I'm just trying to like play sort of power chords when if it's R&B, So I don't know. I thought it wasn't bad. And then moved back here a couple of years later and just really wanted to start another band up, but one where I felt like I could be more satisfied creatively, because I mean I don't like R&B at all, and that's when Saturn Split got formed.
That's when Saturn Split arrived. Yeah, I've got quite an interesting band history. So obviously the whole college thing and what they did with us in college. So the first band that was technically in was a band called Section 18, which was our little School of Rocky college program
Yeah.
that they set up. Covers, Seven Nation Army, Paranoid. There was a Marilyn Manson song, The Nobodies, that we did. We did Blink 182, All the Small Things, with a drummer who really couldn't play to the level that Travis Barker plays.
Yeah.
Enough of that. And it was just a one-off gig. I didn't really gel super well with the singer/guitarist. So after that gig, I was on a high. I was like, I want to do this again. That was about 2010. I was like, I really want to do this again. I really want to do this again. I want to keep gigging. This is it now. This is my life. So I found a few people in college and formed another band kind of outside of the classroom kind of thing, and we called ourselves Repeat Offender. And it was just basically, it was whoever was in the smoking bit, and I was like, I need a singer, a drummer, and a guitarist, and hands went up and right, we're the band. Yeah. Same thing again, covers. We did Wicked Game, but more the Chris Isaac track Wicked Game, but it was more in the style of hymns, cover of Wicked Game. Yeah. I'm sure Seven Nation Army got another play. Of course it did. Paranoid by Black Sabbath got another play. I think it was Highway to Hell, which I didn't know how to play properly and just kind of winged it a bit. I'm sure there was another track, but it's lost on me now. But we did that, and then we did a gig at Vale Park in New Brighton, in the little pavilion area. The singer wasn't. There's a YouTube video, and I will link it. So if you want to have a listen to that, have a listen to that, okay?
Okay.
So after that, I was trying to get another band together. I was trying to do more of these gigs. I was trying to get my cousin on board. I was trying to get mates on board, but they were already in other bands, and they didn't have a lot of time to be coming in and doing this side project for me. They were willing, but I just couldn't get everything together. So at that point, I was like, right, I want to start, looking for bands now and get myself into a band. I was just throwing my name in anywhere that I could. I auditioned for a bunch of veteran musicians, should we say, doing the old classic rock, and I definitely was not the right match for that.
Yeah.
They kept getting mad at me because I like doing all these little fills and these little extended outros on the bass, which I still do to this day.
Yeah.
But it's our band. We can do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
But I was doing it, and they were getting mad because they were like, "No, end it like it is on the record. Do it properly."
Yeah.
So I didn't get anywhere with them. I auditioned for another band all the way out in St Helens. Didn't get anywhere with them, and then I think life just kind of got in the way. I didn't really do anything for a while. And then, a couple of years later, that hunger came back. I was like, why am I not in a band yet? I need to get a band, be in a band. So around this time, social media is a bit better for this kind of thing. Websites are a bit better. And I go on the iconic, the classic joinmyband.com, which is an absolute cesspit. Like an absolute mess. I don't know if anyone uses that website anymore.
I've no idea.
In all fairness, if it weren't for that website, Saturn Split would have never existed, would it?
Yeah.
So you've got to give it that. So I went on that. Anyone who was looking for a bassist, I just emailed, I'm a bassist, I'll play for you, whatever. I don't care what genre, whatever, I'll play for it. Black metal, I'll play for you.
Yeah.
R&B, I'll play for you. Don't care. Someone got in touch with me from a band called The Johns. The story.
Yeah.
And I went to try out for them, kind of expecting a similar thing where, you're on trial, you're getting auditioned, aren't you?
Yeah.
As soon as we played about 3 songs together, that was kind of it. I was in the band. They were kind of going, right, we've got a gig in about a month's time. I was like, all right. Part of me is like, great, I'm in this band. Another part of me is like, whoa, this seems a bit next thing, so we're playing for about a good hour together. And next thing, their uncle comes in with a camcorder thing, filming us, going proper, almost like a manager of sorts. He was like, yeah, I'm loving it, man. This is great. Yeah. And then he went and he came back and he went, yeah, I've just got you as a gig. I've just shown the footage to some promoters and got us some gigs. I was over the moon. I was made up, I'm not going to lie. But the thing was the music they wanted to play. So there was 3 brothers in the band. So it was a bit of a family affair. It was a bit of an Oasis-y kind of situation. and they wanted to play like, their inspirations were like the Beatles and Bob Dylan, and they wanted to basically recreate and like redo the Mersey beat.
Yeah.
Me and my playing style doesn't really match to that. And the mentality I had in my head was like, right, influence is all well and good, but you don't want to just like impersonate your influences.
Yeah.
You want to create something and you want to bring in. I think the best bands always have like this mix of influences, and there's a lot in it, and it melds together quite well. So I would just play as a play, Flea out the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Was at the time. I have changed it up a bit since then. So I'm playing, I'm noodling, I'm doing all sorts over it. They seem like they're loving it, but when it comes to gigging and we start gigging it, they're not loving it.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of taking a bit away from them on the stage. So we played a couple of gigs. I thought everything was amazing. I was like over the moon. I was like, oh, this is me band. I'm part of this band. I'm part of this brotherhood. We played about 3-4 gigs, maybe 5. And then the day after a gig, all happy, gone home, wake up in the morning, weekend, chilling out. I get a message off their dad on Facebook Messenger, and he's basically saying, "I relieve you of your bassist duties. We're moving on without you." And I was like, "Well, like why? What the hell did it do? What's brought this on?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, there were like some bigwigs from a label like hanging around, and they said we've got to ditch you because you're not the right fit in the band."
Yeah.
I was devastated. I was absolutely like heartbroken. I think they're still going to this day. All the best to them. But at the time, I was absolutely like, I was fuming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was, like so mad. And then like a couple of months' time from that, I remember we did a photo shoot together, like a band shoot, and obviously I was part of this band shoot. And they changed like the cover picture, like the little banner picture on the Facebook.
Yeah.
And it was a picture that we did together, and like this everyone loves this kind of tale. All the band members in the picture, it was like a picture on the street down by like the dock areas of Liverpool, with Bob Dylan did a photo shoot. Again, copycats. And they'd like edited children in it that were in like the original Bob Dylan picture.
Yeah.
And then where I was standing is just kind of this big blob, this big blur. So they've gone on Photoshop and tried to like blur me out the picture, but it just stood out like a sore thumb, and like I remember just like cracking up over it.
It's like Stalin or something.
Yeah, it was like Stalin, but just done 100 times worse. It was like, someone with no like editing skills just really mushing over like a big blob over this. It was just this big, massive grey blob in the picture. Like, I couldn't help myself. I had to pick a bit of fun out of that.
Yeah.
So that kind of disheartened me quite a bit. Didn't get anything going for another couple of years, and then obviously this time I was busy. I had kids, I had like home life, work, everything was like kind of havoc. As I say, I just took a bit of a back seat and went, oh well, it is what it is. And then one night at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get this message on Facebook. Like my phone goes off. I'm like, what's this?
Yeah.
And it's some lad that I'd like jammed with, or maybe had arranged to have a jam with at some point. It's something I can't quite remember. My memory's a bit fuzzy, but I definitely spoke to him before because he had my phone number, he had my contact details, and he was like, "Oh, you were still a bassist?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I don't know if you can like not be a bassist anymore, like
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Yeah, mate, yeah, what's up?" And he was, "I need you in my band. Come join my band." I was like, yeah, okay, fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
Same thing again. That band turned out to be Safari Inc. And I won't go into all the details on that because that will be a future episode.
Yeah.
But let's just say that was kind of like my first experience being in a band that we all kind of worked together on writing songs. Like with the Johns that I came in, they had their whole kind of, all their songs already done, already out. I had no involvement in song writing or anything like that. This one was different. They had the songs, but they were still in their kind of like primitive state. So, we did these songs, we released this EP. Again, it's a story for another day, all that. But let's just say things went sour quite quickly.
Yeah.
With that band, and it kind of crashed apart, and it kind of got to the point there that there was a power struggle in that band between pretty much everyone in the band had a completely different idea of what they wanted that band to be. So it was kind of like, right, I'm starting from scratch, bloody hell, here we go. But this time, it's going to be, I'm going to be there from the start. And, it's going to be diplomatic, and it's not going to be done unless it's done right. And that's how Saturn Split formed. And as we said originally in the first episode, it didn't go quite to plan at first.
No,
there was a few, kinks
Yeah.
that we had to iron out. But when we kind of became that free piece, and I'd say around 2019, that's when it really started kind of getting together and getting working. And then obviously, if you go back to the first episode, we had it good for a few years.
Yeah.
And then we fell into the inevitable drummer problem,
Yeah.
didn't we? Carl listened to that first episode, by the way.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he wasn't best pleased. I said to him, I listened back to it, and maybe I shouldn't have called him what I called him on that episode. Carl, if you're listening, it was more back when you did that and my emotions at the time.
Yeah.
So please don't give the YouTube a video dislike this time. I love you, Carl. All the best to you, mate. So I've lost my track now. So Saturn Split. Let's get into our band, Saturn Split.
Yeah.
We released an EP with about 5 songs on it, wasn't it?
I think it's got 6 on it.
Yeah, altogether it was a collection. We never recorded. We recorded 2 songs at a time.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
Most of the time, sometimes 1 song at a time. So I think the best thing to do is let's just go through the EP, and we can talk about the songs and how we came up with the songs and how the songs kind of evolved over time, really.
I think the first 2 were I Take a While and Family Values, weren't
Yeah,
they?
they were, yeah. Yeah, so Family Values. What do you want to give me your side of the story on Family Values, and then I'll talk about mine.
Well, I think you did a lot of the...
Yeah, so I will just interject. Sorry, and yeah, so with Family Values, so when we first started Saturn Split, we had a singer, and the way I kind of saw it is the singer ideally kind of writes the songs,
Yeah.
or we jam together, and the singer then writes the lyrics around kind of them jams. We noticed pretty early that wasn't working very well. So I kind of started scribbling my own, and that this is kind of what helped me become a songwriter, and as I say, going on a singer. And I wrote a song for the band called That Time, which isn't released yet, so we won't talk about it yet. We'll leave that one because we'll come back to this when we've got our music out. So we used That Time, and we used My Cult. There was a song I was really working hard on and crafting behind the scenes, but I was a bit reserved to kind of bring it out into the band in the state the band was in at the time, because I kind of thought it was too good to be presented to the band, with the band being at the time it was. Once we lost the singer and I took up the role of lead vocals, I kind of presented the song to yourself and Lisa.
Yeah.
I came up the bass, and that's kind of it, really. I came to you with the bass riff, went, this is the bass riff, here's the vocal melody, and Lisa worked her part on the drums, and you worked your part on the guitar. So when you came up with them parts with the guitar, what kind of influences were you picking from? What kind of ideas came to your mind? How did your part of that song come to be?
I think it's quite a sort of... You can hear the Doom influence in it, can't you? I mean, stuff like Black Sabbath and...
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like yeah.
But then, I suppose maybe in the breakdown, it's more... I wouldn't say like psychedelic, but the effects I would use on that would be like a phaser or chorus pedal, So, and then, obviously, the kind of thrashy style in the chorus as well. Yeah, I'd say that those were me influences. But I think that song was it was in pretty similar shape to what it is now. It's
not really changed a bit, has it? I remember we did play kind of the original riff a lot slower back in the day, didn't we? Yeah. Black Sabbath definitely was a key influence on that kind of song. I have gone into it before, but the whole kind of story around it is kind of based around the Manson family values,
Yeah.
and kind of the whole getting indoctrinated into a cult. And I also kind of wanted to like blend that in with a bit of a jab at organised religion,
Yeah.
as well. I've said before, the best thing I like about music is that it can be interpreted in different ways.
Yeah.
So, I kind of like if people associate it with the Manson family, that's, it's about the Manson family. If people go, oh, this is clearly a song aimed at religion,
Yeah.
it's also that as well. I liked to leave it open. We wrote that back in 2019. Must have been early 2019, maybe even late 2018.
Yeah, I think it would have been 18, yeah.
So that's, how long is that now? Like, what, 6 years?
6 years, yeah.
So 6 years on, what do you think about the song? Do you still like the song?
I still like. I much prefer the way we've ended up playing it though, with the
Oh yeah, 100%.
the drums in double time. I think it gives it a lot more energy that way. Obviously, we may be re-recording that, and I Take a While as well. Certainly, when we recorded it, I think we could have pushed for a bit more work on the drums.
Yeah. So it was our kind of first. I had recorded before with Safari Inc., but it was our first kind of recording experience. We weren't there on the day that the drums got done.
Yeah.
Were we? So it was kind of, the drums were already laid out. Overall, so the recording of the song, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not super happy with. It meant a lot to me when it first came out. I was very excited for it. But listening back, of all the songs that we've got kind of like on streaming that's out there to the public, it's not really one of my favourites. I don't think it does it justice.
Yeah.
I really don't like my vocals on that. Again, this was still very early days into my kind of, my singing career, should we say.
Yeah.
I think it falls a bit flat, but the song itself, I think, was stellar. I'm still very proud of it to this day. Once it got put on the set list, it never left the set list. No. It always got played. It was a staple at the shows. I think for quite a period of time, it was the opener, and then later on, I pushed it to the back of the set because I thought it was a good kind of, bringing back the energy towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
So that was Family Values, and then the second song we recorded in that session was I Take a While.
Yeah.
Now, talk to me about I Take a While.
So that was, I think, again, you maybe came up with the main riff.
Yeah, I come up with the bass riff, but this was definitely one of our jam songs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That we kind of all worked on together.
Yeah. Because in fact, I can actually remember the day after we recorded it and listening to not record, like, we used to send voice notes.
Yeah, we used to just record it on our phone, yeah.
And I was listening back to it a couple of times, and this is actually not bad, this. I mean, they'll still be out there somewhere,
yeah.
But yeah, that was, I was excited about that song, and people who've listened to what we've done, that have mentioned that song as well. So again, I mean, like I say, we're looking at re-recording it, and I think it's going to have the energy that it should do.
Yeah, I think definitely with Family Values and I Take a While, the on the recordings, the energy just isn't there, because I wasn't fully confident as a singer at that point. We hadn't by now we've been playing these songs for years, and we've constantly been kind of altering bits or changing bits. I really don't like the song, but at the end, I think the problem is,
you don't like the song itself, or
I don't like the song itself.
Yeah,
I think as you know, and you've struggled with throughout the whole time in the band, that I am our biggest critic.
Yeah,
I am on everything, and I'm always judging everything critically. I Take a While kind of makes me cringe a little bit nowadays.
Yeah.
I did change the lyrics a little bit later on because I was like, oh, this feels like really like kind of cheesy, like 70s classic rock. It kind of didn't really match with our more like punkier style that we kind of adopted later on as we started, kind of really getting our kind of momentum going. So I don't like it, but again, it was always, I think eventually I did start pulling it out the set list a little bit later on as we started getting more songs. But again, it's probably our second most played song. And it's interesting that you said that we got the good feedback off it and people like it. Yeah. Because again, the songs I don't like the most are the ones that the people like the most.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's like just my taste of music, but I just kind of think of that song as it was like very primitive in my very early kind of songwriting. That there's hardly any lyrics to it at all.
Yeah.
It's very basic. It's a song about lust, basically. It's just typical boy meets girl, boy wants to do things with girl. Very, very kind of primitive and basic. But now I want to talk about the songs that I am a lot more happier with. And I think these songs really kind of show what we were and what we are. And I'm going to try and go in the order that we recorded these.
Okay.
Back.
Right.
Tell me about Back.
So again, I think again I can remember the session where we actually came up with that. Again, because your part and my part are quite different in that song. I think
Yeah, I think that is a good thing about it, to be honest.
certainly compared with like Family Values, where we're kind of mimicking what the others doing for
Yeah,
to a great
basically.
extent of it. But yeah, in that one, did we have like a month to go before a gig or something?
It was shorter than that, I think. It was shorter than that because this song I really did pull up my ass. I've spoken about it before. It was just we needed songs. So I was just, twanging on the bass with that open A bum 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 bum, and then just gone bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of jamming with that. I just kind of put my mouth to the mic. You take it away from me. You took it away from me. You took it away from me. Very basic, very simple. I wanted it because I knew that we were playing with a lot of kind of like hardcore punk bands at this upcoming gig. I wanted it to kind of have that punky feel.
Yeah.
So it really was just kind of a bit pulled out the ether. But there is actually kind of like a meaning to the song that I've never really truly been very open with. And I think it's basically going back to the stories that I've told about previous bands. It's kind of a bit of a jab at everyone who's kind of stopped me in my tracks. It's kind of a bit of a dig at everyone who's kind of got in the way and knocked me back from doing what I want to do, which is be a band and that.
Yeah.
And that can be it, like bands I got kicked out of, bands that split up, ex-members. It really, it's kind of like it's just an open attack on pretty much anyone and everyone, really.
Yeah.
I think part of me is that might be another part why I'm not the biggest fan of this song, because it is quite spiteful and negative. Again, pulled up my ass. We needed a song. We played it at the gig. Everyone who approached us after that gig, like usually when you play a gig, you get that usual, people come up to you like, "It was a good set, that mate. Yeah, very good. Yeah, okay." Yeah. While they're throwing your kit off the stage to put their own on.
Yeah.
But people coming up to us going, "Oh, that song's really good. What was it? They like kind of be going, the one that's like taking it away from me and all that."
Yeah.
And I was very taken aback the first time. I was like, "What? Really? Not Family Values, not I Take a While, but Back."
It was even more simplistic then as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. We added more to it in the studio, didn't we?
Yeah.
Originally, it was just You Took It Away From Me throughout, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then in the studio, we changed it to You Took It Away From Me, She Took It Away From Me.
Did it have the same chorus as well at that?
I think it did. I think the chorus was a bit slower. It was similar, but it hadn't been as fine tuned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was similar. But it still had you get your groove on coming back again.
Yeah.
That was still in it. But the bit with the shoes, which if anyone's ever listened to it, what's he on about? Get your shoes on or whatever it says.
Yeah.
That was me just dicking about basically in the vocal booth while recording. We had to do many takes.
Yeah.
We'll get into the recording process after all this, I guess. You have to do so many takes. You're a bit tired. You're getting a bit like antsy and a bit fed up. Tate's messing with all his filters and all his sliders and all that. I'm just waffling on and I'm just like singing the song like, put your shoes on. And he went, "Do that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do that. Put it in."
Yeah.
So we did. So that's where, if anyone's ever wondered, what's the actual lyric? Put your shoes on.
No, get your shoes on.
Get your shoes on.
Yeah.
That's where that came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically Back. And then we every gig we played, it became a joke. It was an in-joke, wasn't it, between us all? Every time someone would come up, "I love Back. Back was great, that."
Yeah.
So when it came to the time that we recorded it as a single, it was the first pick, wasn't it? when we did our Mad Fox sessions.
Yeah.
Back was the first pick. I've come around on it. Like, I used to hate it, and it used to be the joke. I've come around on it,
Yeah.
and I really do like the production, and I really do like the song that we recorded. It's a bastard to perform.
Yeah.
It's horrible to perform. It was always early in the set because it drained me.
Yeah.
Part of it's my fault, maybe I didn't have to go as hard on it as I did, but the whole point of it was this build up, and then in the end, I just scream it just at the top of my lungs, just absolutely, doing as much damage to my vocal cords as I possibly could.
Yeah.
So yeah, it always had to be early so that I could kind of coast out the rest of the set list and take it a bit easier after that.
Yeah.
So after that, we did Doomsday Parade, didn't we?
Yeah.
Again, same kind of similar feeling. Some songs we were in the studio and we just kind of jam.
I think that came out, so it was just playing the chords. So
Yeah.
The D to the B.
I think originally I wanted it to be a bit more like reggae, didn't I?
I don't know. It was certainly slower. It was more like
Yeah, and it was just like dead long, like interval-y kind of, again, Black Sabbath inspired, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This was some songs. The lyrics would come to me during the jam sessions.
Yeah.
And I'd get them down, and then I'd take them home and tweak them and fix them a bit, to change them from first draft. Sometimes I would actually write the lyrics and then present the lyrics in the practice room, and I'm sure Doomsday Parade was one I did with this. I really like Doomsday Parade. It's like one of my favourite songs, and I feel like the message is so kind of like, it's very like relevant. It's basically, it's kind of about like, it was kind of just basically like, I'm always obsessed with like, I love watching like end of the world films,
and
I love like watching like end of the world documentaries or like these spooky YouTube videos of like, how will the world end and stuff like that. And I kind of thought like, us as a species, the human race, we're obsessed with our destruction, but we're also the creators of our own destruction. So it was kind of like, putting them two words together, Doomsday and Parade, like a celebration. We all kind of want it to come in a weird, sick, strange way, don't we? Have you got anything to say about Doomsday? What were your kind of, what was your kind of input in the writing process? What did you want to put in it in the guitar? And
I mean, I can remember coming up with that little riff that's in the verse, and I think
like down, down, down.
It's do 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 do.
Oh yeah.
Which again, people who mention the band to me, they always mention that little riff. So there's that. There was I think we wrote the chorus together as well. So yeah, it was I think we came up with the chorus together. And then it was just 3 lots of verse chorus.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things about the songs was like they always were very simplistic, and partly did want to kind of add more, but I always kind of found that like the more you added to like the classic, you see someone painting and then they decide to put something in the painting that completely ruins the entire picture. It was kind of like whenever I tried to add more to these songs, like the more of a monster they became. And it was always like, we're a punk band, we're grungy, short and sweet is the key. But that does lead me on to another song that we did, Hell from Above.
Well, just before we. I think so. Part of what you also have to remember when you're doing it is the more. I mean, for me, we were a 3-piece because it was much simpler than having 4 or 5 members who you've got to keep happy. And then,
and as we found later on, the more people, the more kind of trouble you kind of find yourself in, don't you? The more kind of things go wrong.
And I think it was just the same. It's kind of the same attitude with that, isn't it? It's like, if you know what you are, don't make it harder for yourself than you need to.
Again, like, we played with like a lot of bands. We worked alongside a lot of bands, and sometimes there was kind of like this problem of a song going on too long. I found and putting too much into it and all that. So it was kind of like at the stage you were at, as a local band where, you know, you don't really have your fan base are your friends and family. You're basically playing to strangers.
Yeah.
And you want to grab their attention and you want to hit them with bang, you know what I mean? And that's really kind of where the songwriting came. And a lot of times, like, is this going to sound good live? Is this going to go off live? But one song that I kind of wanted to put more elements into, and I did kind of, this was kind of what I kind of felt was, oh, this was going to be my masterpiece. Hell from Above.
Yeah.
Which was, funnily enough, in our political songs.
Yeah, it was
in the last episode.
Yeah.
So Hell from Above was like, I really like sat home for ages and I crafted that song and worked on that song and worked on that song and like really kind of worked on the lyrics. Again, it's not, you know, it's not Dogs by Pink Floyd, like, you know, it still is bare bones basic, but it was the one that I really kind of put some effort into.
Yeah.
What's your side of Hell from Above?
So, I mean, I was a bit more experimental, is probably too grand a word for it, but, you know,
a bit more thought into a lot of pedals over my bass and mucking about with that a bit.
Yeah. I mean, more with me lead playing, you know, there's a lot more. I think I used some hammer-ons in the breakdown and stuff like that, you know, which is, it's not the sort of thing I generally went for. I know there were songs like White Noise and Lucy where we might have used them, but obviously they're not as,
they're in the vaults at the moment.
Yeah. But yeah, it was I do like that song, and then obviously we got to make the little video as well.
Yeah, so we should talk a bit about the video, shouldn't we? Actually, that was very improv, off the cuff. That so
I die of cringe watching it back. To be honest, watching me.
I remember, funnily enough, since getting with my partner who's currently munching Chucky Wacky on the couch over there, like Dad and that's very big into music and a lot of her family. So, you know, when I told them, you know, I was in a band and I've played in a band, you know, they'd always be like, oh, you know, where can I find your music and stuff like that? I mean, oh, you know, like Spotify or YouTube. And then like it was like a New Year's gathering. And there was this big, massive 60-inch telly on the wall, and he put Saturn Split into the, into the YouTube, and the Hell from Above music video comes up, and there was that one in the back one as well, which we should probably talk about straight after this one as well, actually. And he puts it up on this big screen, all the family around, and I'm like, please turn it off. One thing about my music is I've never wanted to be present when other people, besides live, because that's different. I've never wanted to be present when people are listening to my music, because I do crawl into a ball inside and die a bit. I like hearing about it afterwards. Like, if someone comes up to me and goes, oh, listen to your music, I'm made up. I'm like, oh, did you? You know, tell me about it. But to be there in the moment and hear my voice and, you know, me going for gold, like, you know, I forgot it back again.
Yeah.
You know, like, it is like, oh, God, turn it off, please, turn it off. But that was very improv, wasn't it? We were doing a photo shoot with Sarah, who was kind of like, you know, we always went to her for photo shoots, didn't we? She still does it. Smashing job, you know, recommend her to anyone.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And I found this spot near where I live, which is basically opposite a skip, and it's just derelict land in it. Yeah. I don't know what it used to be, but it's like cement flooring, isn't it? So it did used to be something.
Do you mean the
from the Hell from Above, just opposite this tip?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just this big fenced off, just
what the
big.
hell it would have been?
No, it's this big area. It's obviously unmaintained, so the grass is, you know, shot up to about 6 foot high.
Yeah.
There's like areas with like in the music video, like us coming out the bushes and that, you know, this vegetation. And it kind of does look a bit like a kind of like an abandoned like air base or something like that, which does work for the music video.
Yeah.
And it was great, big open space. It was the weather was just great for it, wasn't it? It was around kind of like it was getting to like dusk time, wasn't it? You know, the sun's setting, and it's kind of like that orangey glow, and it was like late in the summer. And we were taking our photos, and I kind of said to Sarah, can you film on that? And she was like, yeah. I was like, you know what? Because we brought our instruments to the photo shoot. Yeah. You didn't bring a lead, though. That got brought up I remember someone in the YouTube comments was like, where's the guitar not plugged in? You know what I mean? I don't know, yeah. But I remember that. We had our instruments and we just kind of we just played the song, obviously unplugged, didn't we? But playing, you know, all the right bits so it could be matched in with the video. Sarah sent me all the clips. One thing I've learned from that, if anyone out there is interested in like video editing or making videos, is film B-roll, because I wish there was more B-roll for that, because it got to the point where I had to like repeat clips and just I really had to mash it together, and like I'd never edited a video before. I'd done anything like that. To be honest, I'm quite proud of how that turned out. To be honest, I managed to match all the parts up to what we were playing correctly and all that. So that was our little DIY music video, wasn't it? Which, as I say, was a lot of fun. But I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. Like, we did actually get like a kind of semi-professional music video done, didn't we? Which was the song Back, which was done for free, basically, off some students who were just obviously working on music making. They reached out to us again, like that. That was one of the. We'll get into it in a bit later, like our kind of like proudest moments, proudest achievements. But it was the fact that people were kind of coming to us rather than us. Because and I'll get into that, into like my kind of like frustrations, is like the amount of like outreach you have to do. It was great to start getting it back, coming back again. So that one was a fun one, because we were behind a green screen, weren't we? The concept for Back, and there was no logic behind it. It was just, I just thought it was a cool aesthetic. I really like the idea of like cassette tape. And I had like an old cassette, which I just pretty much wrote kind of like as if it was like a bootleg, Saturn Split Back on it. I pulled all the tape out, and that was kind of like the promotional artwork for the song when we released it as a single. So coming to the music video, I wanted to incorporate that again. We had the CTR TVs with the tapes on and all that, which got broke at a gig, as we mentioned in episode 1. And it had this real like analog feel to it, didn't we? There was tape all like I put tape all over my face, which was annoying because every time I was singing, the bit of tape kept going in my mouth. You can kind of see on the music video, I'm like trying to like spit it out at the same time. I was like trying to like sing and put on a performance in the camera. And you were playing a guitar, and I was on the side, like they say, rolling it out the tape, like so it like comes streaming down you. I really liked that music video. That was a lot of fun. That
I did.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the band's history. And then we get into a cover that we recorded. Bed Sitter by Soft Cell. I think again this was kind of like my idea, wasn't it? We toyed with covers before, hadn't we? I think originally when we started, we did a Black Sabbath cover, NIB.
You also did Sky is a Neighbourhood by Foo Fighters in the early weeks. And
that never hit the stage.
I hated that song.
Yeah, that was new at the time as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and of course Man Who Sold the World.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for Man Who Sold the World. So Man Who Sold the World was brought forward by our old singer. David Bowie song, but similar back in the day when I did Wicked Game. The Nirvana Unplugged, it was definitely the key influence on that.
Definitely.
And it was rough as bins. It was rough as bins. It was a song that I just half-heartedly learned. I didn't even think I knew how to play it exactly. I was just kind of winging it a bit. It was really a song that just doesn't translate well, does it? And especially to a fledgling band like ourselves at the time. And especially, with kind of the state the band was in at the time. It was really rough. And when we played it live, I just felt like I died on stage. It was just such a mood killer. It's a good song. Don't get me wrong, it's a very good song. But it was just such a mood killer, wasn't it? It really just brought it down. It really felt like, when you watch them like videos of like 13-year-olds like on stage playing like Smells Like Teen Spirit, and it's all over the shop. It's like damn, like all out of time. The drummer's playing something completely different. The singer's just it felt like that, and it was very embarrassing, to be honest. So we kind of did knock covers on the head, because obviously being originals band, some venues didn't really want you playing them. So we kind of knocked it on the head. But I always wanted one cover that we could kind of adopt and have as our own song in a way like Nirvana took The Man Who Sold the World. Or,
The Clash with I Fought the Law.
The Clash with I Fought the Law. There's so many great cover songs out there, Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower. I wanted to adopt a song, but I didn't just want to adopt a song that everyone's had a go at, everyone's had a crack at. And there's this song, Bed Sitter by Soft Cell, that I've always really enjoyed, and I think is like a proper hidden gem. Soft Cell themselves, biggest hit is a cover, Tainted Love.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, I'd listen to it and like I'd always, whenever I like put my music on shuffle, I'd always be like, could we cover that? Like, could we Saturn Split eyes this song a bit? And with that song, I was like, I know all the words. It sounds pretty easy to just pick up and play. It's very different. There's no like kind of like there's no guitars in it or everything's electronic instruments. I thought this would be a good song to translate. I love the lyrics. I love like the subject matter of the song. I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So we brought it to the table, and I just kind of, it just all clicked into place, didn't it? Everything just kind of fell right into place. I tried to like impersonate Mark Almond slightly with his kind of, his very kind of campy performance of the song. The bass, I just literally play the bum, 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 bum. But for you, it must have been a bit of a harder task, mustn't it? Obviously, to translate it into guitar. So, how did you, what was your kind of thought process and, how did you put it into it? Because obviously it's got that main riff on it. It's like down, ba down, down, ba down, down.
Yeah, so I just tried to work out my own version of it. So it's just an A chord, and then a G, and then that bit, which is a C and a B.
Yeah, it's just like a little noodle in it.
Yeah, but then slung a load of reverb, or I think it was delay at first actually, to kind of get it to keep going. And then when it came to the chorus, rather than just play the chords, which actually I've forgotten now. So if we do ever play it again, it's 3 chords, but they go on.
It's that's one thing about music, isn't it? Like the one thing I've worried about is like we've not played our music in a long time.
Yeah,
and I kind of wonder like I'm looking at my bass there. I'm looking at it as I'm talking, and I know as soon as I pick that bass up,
you'll know what to do.
I'll know what to do. Yeah. Exactly what to do. Like it will just come back. So it's not a meg worry, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, just arpeggiated the chords for the chorus. So just played the individual notes and but tried to match playing those notes with when you'd be singing as well.
Yeah.
Something I didn't I take a while as well in the breakdown.
Yeah. I really love it. I think it's a great song. I love what we did it. I really think that we adopted it well and we did it justice. And I'd love the original creators of the song to hear. I'd love to know what they would think of it. It's part of the EP. I pay a royalty fee for it. I'm happy to do that. It's one of ours, but it's not ours. It's the adopted child.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets much stage play in the modern age, does it?
No.
And then kind of like the last one we did, which was sort of a bit of a Saturn Split project, sort of a project of your own. So I think you can talk a lot more about this song because this was a song you wrote, and basically I just came on and gave you a bit of assistance on, didn't I? So we've got Furious the Monkey Boy.
Yeah.
Tell us about Furious the Monkey Boy.
Oh, Furious. So I came up with the opening riff years ago, but couldn't find anything to really stick it with.
Yeah.
Then I got like a little 8-track recorder, put it down on it, and I was just messing around with it. So came up with the chords to play underneath it, but then they went into the verse as well. But you've got it stops, doesn't it, during the verse? So just getting that. And then obviously it changes a little bit in the chorus, but then the lead in the chorus was what Take came up with, I think.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I came in on the second day.
Yeah.
What I really liked about it was it kind of pushed me out my comfort zone a little bit because obviously it wasn't something I would have written.
Yeah.
Especially with kind of like the vocals and how kind of like packed in they were.
Yeah.
So it was almost in a way like you had to pick up a bit of hip hop and a bit of rap.
I have got quite a big rap influence.
Yeah. It felt quite rappy. It was like all done in a flash of a blade. We're getting all the choices and then you made.
Yeah.
But
it was
really I struggled so much with the line, The Folly of the Sun.
Yeah.
I remember we did a lot of takes on that.
Yeah.
But so there was a bit of rap influence in that song, but the influence I took from it because we were doing like a bit of back and forth, a bit of me and you on the vocals, is like I felt it was very like System of a Downy.
Yeah.
I got like a System of a Down vibes, that Darren Malaki, that kind of craziness and like I think it's a great song and when we put it on that site, that review site that we put a lot of songs on, Submit Hub.
Yeah.
which any bands out there who are looking to try and get their music out there and get some ears on it, put it on Submit Hub,
Yeah.
and get reviews requested for it. People raved after that song. They loved it. They thought it was amazing. I think it got higher rated than any of the Saturn Split songs.
Oh, okay.
But it was great, and we tried to adopt it, and we tried to play it live.
It was too hard.
It was too hard, yeah. I think we shot for the moon there, didn't we?
Yeah. But yeah, it was just a song. I mean, Furious the Monkey Boy is
yeah. Who is Furious the Monkey Boy?
So it's something you type. I think if you type in "I love the monkey head" in either the first or second Age of Empires, you get this little character.
That's like a real time strategy, is it? That's like one of them. You build your armies.
Yeah,
yeah.
From the 90s, it was from.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get this little character called Furious the Monkey Boy, and he just goes around battering people.
Yeah, it's just like a bit of a cheat code.
Yeah. You can like punches the fortified walls down and stuff like that. So, because I think obviously we write songs which have got a serious tone, and certainly in my solo stuff, I write stuff which is about mental health or whatever. But it's doesn't you don't have to always take yourself seriously.
No, not at all. No, it's funny that you bring up songwriting because again, we've talked about the songs. They're all very kind of heavy, dark subject matter. It was always kind of written with a kind of like, well, people live aren't really going to be paying much attention to it anyway.
Yeah.
So just sing about what I kind of want to sing about. I'm quite a doomy. I'm quite an upbeat. Happy person in life genuinely, but I have a very deep fascination in kind of like the dark and the doom and the gloom. So that's where a lot of my inspirations came from.
Yeah.
And earlier on, I wasn't super comfortable writing songs more personally connected to myself. As time went on, a lot of the songs that are currently in the Saturn Split vault are a lot more kind of personal and come more from, again, as you said, kind of states of mental health and state I was in at the time. I think when we were really setting off as a band, what was going on around me in my life was really kind of, the band was really like a good outlet for that.
Yeah.
And really helped kind of craft a lot of the songs and kind of a lot of the feeling of the raw and, a bit of an anger and a bit of like, that power and frustration really came through on them songs. So, it's I've always liked that you can take negative things in life and make something constructive out of them.
Yeah.
Not everything's like sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, is it?
Of course not, but it's what you make of it, isn't it? If everyone's going to have setbacks in life, and some people will just be permanently set back by it, and some people will say, right, okay, I want better than this, or
like the song Back, not to get too deep into it, but again, there's always going to be roadblocks, there's always going to be setbacks, but you know what I mean, you got to brush the dust off, get your shoes on and get back into the groove. That's what I mean. Get your groove on, get back into it, don't fuck it up again. It's not fuck it up again on the recording, though, is it? Because I wanted radio play.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't remember. What did I say? Did I fuck it up? Is it like, don't mess it up again?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's basically it. It was like, come on, try again next time kind of attitude. But they're the songs we have out there.
Yeah.
We've got a lot in the vault, which we're going to start. It's been very stop-start, hasn't it? But life is life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's, again, we talked about gigs last time, but, what was your mind process before, during, and after a gig, like a general gig? What was the build up? Did you struggle with anxiety? Did you struggle? Was it stressful? Were you nervous? What was going through your head while we were playing live, and then what was the effect once you stepped off that stage?
So the first thing was to wonder how many people we'd be playing to. That would be if it looked like a good crowd, then I don't think I've really got nervous beyond the first couple of maybe the first 2 or 3 times we did it. Because there was just it's like we've done this before, So and I think once you like fuck up as badly as we did Song Sport, then it's like, well, it's all going to be better than that anyway.
Yeah.
And when we were actually playing, I'd try and get myself into like a different mindset, like it wasn't me almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's a performance.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just try not to think. I try not to be self-conscious or anything, or
Yeah, yeah.
because it's sort of people expect you to make a bit of a tit of yourself, don't they? If
Yeah.
you're saying you're on stage, so so just not having a problem with that really. And then after the gig, it would depend on how I felt it went. Towards the end, I tended to think that they went pretty well, so I'd usually be full of adrenaline and that was really good. I'd try and sometimes pick up like a 4 pack of beers on the way home and just sort of celebrate
Yeah, yeah.
if I thought one had gone really well. Yeah, it would depend on the gig, but as time went further and further on, I think that tended to be the
Yeah,
pattern it
yeah.
followed.
I kind of had an inch. I kind of always went through the same notions pretty much every time. Where the build up to the gig is just pure excitement, pure eagerness. Get me on that stage now. Get me on that stage. Like the band's playing before you. Like come on, do your shit and get off. I went my turn. It's my turn. My turn. You know what I mean? When you're on that stage and you've plugged your gear in and you're waiting for the thumbs up from the sound guy, a bit of fear would set in and a bit of like that kind of like, oh shit, what am I doing? Bit like this podcast, even when it's just 2 people in my house, before I click record on this, there's always a bit of, oh fucking hell, here we go. I've got to manage, I've got to like make something out of this, you know what I mean? Like, there always is that bit of like, ugh. So, I get on the stage and then kind of like it would set in a little bit. Yeah, I remember one gig in particular, which I got probably drank too much for this one, but it was the biggest crowd we ever played to. I remember when we were on that stage about to perform, I was like, shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm a bit out my depth here.
Was that in Jimmy's? Was it?
No, it wasn't Jimmy's. This one was in Lipper.
Oh yeah.
Because I just wasn't expecting it. It was Friday at like 6 p.m, wasn't it?
Was there a big crowd for that one?
Massive. Like it was massive. It was big.
Yeah.
It did empty out a bit after the first band before we came on.
Yeah.
But it was a big venue.
Yeah.
It was a big crowd. I do remember it being a big crowd. That was like one of them moments where it was a bit like, oh shit, what am I doing? Like, I was like drunk and like kind of swaying a bit, and I was like, oh fucking hell. As soon as you go in, I'm fine. I think it would usually take me a couple of songs to get into like a comfortable, where I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this and this is great. Like, the first song, second song, it'd always be a bit, it was different being the front man. It was very different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You feel like you're kind of the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
And if you crash into that iceberg, you're bringing your crewmates down with you, you know what I mean? The stage talk, that was something that I always like. Early on, I tried it. And I was like, you'd say things and you'd be like, why did I fucking say that?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking I remember saying something at a Manchester gig once and it just came across like really like a bit petty and a bit incel-ish, should I say. I remember hearing a few like in the crowds as well. And I was a bit like, oh fuck, why did I fucking say that? Like that sounds really stupid.
Yeah.
Eventually I kind of picked up a habit of like the one thing I've always hated about bands' live performances is long gaps between songs. I hate dead air. I hate it. I hate it on this podcast. I always try and edit out as much as I can.
Yeah.
It would always frustrate me. The band I was in, the Johns, did a lot of that. They'd start tuning the guitars and not being able to tune them, or their tuners like running out of battery or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd be standing there going like, we're making fools of ourselves now.
Yeah.
I hate this. So I kind of got into a flow of like, when we craft the set list, we practice the set list the day before, and I worked on like what songs can we just go straight from one into the other. I kind of, one of my influences for stage speak was Robert Smith of The Cure, because he does barely any. He gives you a quick thank you after the song plays. He'll mutter a few words and he'll go straight into the next song. So that was kind of what I adapted to eventually. I kind of stopped trying to be like, right guys, this song's about the end of the world and that. Yeah. Because it's kind of like people you're playing to strangers. Like the fan base isn't really there, is it?
No.
It's your friends, your family, and a load of strangers. They don't want to hear you waffle on. They want to hear some music, don't they? That was kind of it. Was stage speak. That would always be a bit of a nerve wracking thing. The words you wanted to say never come out right. But again, the performance side. Again, as a bassist, I'm very confident, maybe even a bit cocky on the bass. I've always been comfortable. I've never been afraid of my bass playing.
Yeah.
They were the parts where I thought I could shine and really like flourish and show my craft and prove to the people why I'm standing on that stage. The singing was always the thing I wasn't super confident with, but it would depend on the crowd. It really would. Like, if the crowd were not digging you and not giving you like any respect or like even bothering to watch you, like it was just going through the motions. It was like, just let's get the song done, get off the stage.
Yeah.
If I was getting it back, I'd really go into it. Like you said with the performance, I'd really put the performance on. I'd really like develop this character and yeah, I'm doing it. This is fucking singing to you.
Yeah.
Getting off the stage every time, I always felt like shit. Every time I always felt horrible. I always was like, I think it's like a psychological thing because like you're elevated on that stage and you're back on the ground level to the people that were once your audience, and now you're just standing amongst them again.
Yeah.
And I always want to like quickly like run straight to the bar and get a drink, but sometimes you couldn't do that because we'd be driving.
Yeah.
But I'd always want to kind of like, kind of just get out, get a breath of air, skate for a minute, and then when you start getting confronted and people come up and like congratulate you and talk to you, that's when it settled down, and I'd have like a delayed response. So it would usually be the day after. I'd be like, that was great, that was brilliant, I loved that. But at the time, I'd always just be like, oh, I messed up that note, I did that was a bit, iffy, this, that, and the other. Again, I was always the band's biggest critic.
But then as we got further on, I mean, you must have had that a little bit less because we were.
Yeah, it did become, as I say, it did become a lot more normal. But there was always like them. There was certain gigs where it was always like, we'll show up, we'll play the gig, we'll go home.
Yeah.
Certain gigs, it was always like, I want this to be something that we can look back on and remember fondly. And they were the ones that I did have a bit more pressure about. So the first gig we had after lockdown at Jimmy's, I kind of felt a lot of pressure on that one. Farmageddon, I felt a lot of pressure on that one. That was crap because no one was watching us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's certain things, and I think we'll move on from there and get into kind of like frustrations and our kind of frustrations at being in a band and kind of like the scene in general a bit. The frustrations are when there's them highly anticipated gigs where you kind of think it's a shoo-in, don't you? You think it's going to be great. Farmageddon is like this big event every year, held on a big farm, big Halloween event. We're the band that caters to that, where like kind of a bit spooky, dark, doom gloomy band. I thought it'd be a sure hit, you know what I mean? And I thought it's sold out every day of the month, sold out. I thought there'd be hundreds of people there. We're in like a gazebo tent thing. I was expecting a crowd. We played to no one.
Yeah.
There was plenty of people like walking past the
tent.
It's like
we were a sideshow attraction or something.
Yeah. But what upset me even more about that was the fact that it was being live streamed.
Yeah.
And I knew that a lot of people were tuning in to watch it. And then I got off the stage, I pulled my phone out of my pocket, and I'm getting all these messages, obviously delayed from back when they were watching it, going, tell the sound guy that we can't hear you.
Yeah.
We can't hear anyone. It's like the audio's fucked. I was like so annoyed because like it didn't happen with any of the other bands.
Yeah.
Because I was watching it on the build up, the live streams each day, like getting excited, going, because I was like, this will be great footage to have to put on our socials, to put out there, to use to promote.
Yeah.
I was a bit like, that really wound me up. What were some of your kind of frustrations with kind of being in a band and like the whole kind of local original band scene in general?
I mean, the first one is so many bands, I think you've mentioned it before, are just obvious Nirvana rip-offs.
Mm.
And it's like it's been done better than you're going to do it. So just leave it alone. Secondly, I think bands could support each other a bit better. I know you always used to have a thing about staying to watch the other bands.
I did, yeah. I tried to have a what's the right word for it? You know what I mean. When there's kind of like this group, kind of like etiquette.
Yeah.
I always kind of thought you show respect to bands and they show respect to you.
Yeah.
We're all struggling. We're all trying
Yeah.
to do something here. Let's work together. Again, this is kind of like the gripey negative part that we're going to talk about. But, I do want to say that there was a lot of bands that were very supportive at the gigs, who did stay around and watch us. And, they were great and we really got along with them, and their sets were great and our sets were great. It was great, but, we're not naming names, but there were a lot of bands, usually new bands, straight on the scene, and they'd come with all their mums and their dads and their aunties and their uncles. They bring all the crowd, all their mates. It's the first gig, big event, loads of people.
Exactly which one you're thinking.
They'll play their little 20-minute set, and then they'll fuck off.
Yeah.
There was one band in particular that really rubbed me the wrong way because
Runcorn.
one thing you get, no, this isn't Runcorn, actually.
Right, okay.
There was one thing where, like, borrowing kit has always been like a controversial topic with local bands and stuff like that. I was always kind of like, I'd be willing to share like my bass amp, or sometimes I would try and reach out to the bands before the gig and be like, or the venue, make sure there's a drum kit there, or if I can just plug into the bass amp. I would try and make an effort beforehand. But there was a new band, the first ever gig, bunch of kids really, and the bassist wanted to use, I think it was like either my lead, or she had her amp on stage, but she needed a lead. So I said, borrow my lead, and then we're on straight after you. Can I just plug into your amp? And she was like, yeah, cool, no problem. They play the set. I'm getting on stage, get the lead back off her, she picks her amp and she's like, oh, we're going now.
Yeah.
I was like, that is pretty scummy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, really? Like, we're about to play. You're not staying a little longer? Oh, no, we've got to go. We have to go. I saw her on the bus home that night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she clearly wasn't, in a rush to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That really bothered me. That was one example of like, kind of like an unsupported. This one wasn't with Saturn Split, but this one was really like, in the end, it just made them look like arseholes. But the first gig we played with Saturn Split, we were like second to last, and then the band that were headlining, they thought they were the shit. They were like, well, they were like in the corner, like almost as if it was like a fucking VIP lounge or something. The lead singer was there in this like kind of like fur coat with like these girls around him, like he's like fucking Notorious B.I.G. or something like that, you know what I mean, with his hose. And he was there, like, corner of the room, like, kind of eyeballing us throughout the whole set, like, just kind of leaning back, like, eyeballing us, kind of giving the old, the old shake of the head and the old, amateurs kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Play our set, and we brought a lot of people with us, and they all emptied out. I stayed, I was at the bar, and then they get on stage, they play one song. The place was near empty at this point, probably about 10 people in max.
Yeah.
And the singer goes, oh, fucking hell, everyone's fucked off now, the little kiddie bands have played and all that. Like, straight up just dissed us, like, and then 5 people just walk out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you knobhead, like, you're playing to no one that. Like, there's no need for that. That was just completely uncalled for.
Yeah.
You've got the hump because we are the crowd with us and you don't.
Yeah.
And that's that was a prime example of that. So, yeah, unsupportive bands and anything else.
What really, really used to wind me up was when you'd get a gig, particularly out of town ones, and the local promoters just wouldn't bother fucking promoting it. Because it's like, if we're coming from the Wirral, okay, we might be able to get people to Liverpool. People aren't going to come to Chester or Runcorn or Manchester on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. It's just not going to happen. Like, and plus, your job is the fucking promoter. So that it is your job to get people through the door. If nobody's there, you have failed at that. That used to really, really piss me off, because you could you could always tell if they'd advertised it well.
Yeah.
There would be, it might not be packed out, but there'd be a few people there. The amount of times we got there, and then they'd be late. They'd tell us to get there for 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
wouldn't turn up till half
Yeah.
6, and we weren't playing till half 10. We're all driving, so we can't have a drink. So we've got to just sit here, basically.
You've really opened a can of worms there. You really opened a can of worms, because there's one gig in particular that it's all come out, it's all in my head right now as you're saying that. It was a gig in Manchester. One thing I'd say as well is this is always like a hot button topic issue on like the Facebook groups that I'm on, is always around pay. Now I want to just get out there.
Yeah.
We barely made fuck all
Yeah.
off our music.
Yeah.
But I think totally streams in total shared between me and you on DistroKid, we've made about $200 off our streaming music
Each, isn't it?
between us. Yeah. I think total earnings is about $200. No, it might be each actually, because I'm looking at my own bank. So,
Yeah.
so about okay. Let me rephrase that. About $400. So that's about what, like 300 and something quid.
I worked out recently how much we will have made, because I worked out. I knew the gigs. We did 3 gigs, I think, where they paid us,
Yeah,
and another 2 in Outpost, where we put them on ourselves.
yeah,
And I worked out between us, we probably made 500-600 quid
yeah.
the whole time.
Not a lot. That's within what, 3 years of playing.
Yeah,
in
which doesn't
playing
even
gigs.
cover
Yeah.
recording those songs.
So that's always been a controversial issue. Now, to be honest, I was never in it for the money. For me, it was a hobby, and that was it. You collect Lego, you're not going to get much money back, are you?
Yeah.
Unless you start selling your sets. You collect model boats or anything like that.
Yeah.
You're not expecting much money. So I was never truly in it for the money. But there was, at the end of the day, it was work. It's stuff you enjoy doing. But you would have to travel to a location and perform.
I'd have to take holidays as well to make sure.
Yeah, I would as well. I'd book the day. Like if it was a weekday, I'd make sure I booked the day after or the day off. Yeah, and so the money for me wasn't a mega issue. All right, if we've not brought anything, if we've not sold tickets, then that's our loss, isn't it? We make a financial loss off that. What will wind me up is that we would get nothing for free, so no free drinks in a lot of places. They would you'd have to pay for your drinks. So it's almost pay to play. They'd expect you to come. No tokens behind the bar.
Yeah.
Nothing off anyone really. That was one thing that wound me up. Promoters, I want to stick with promoters again. Like you said, they wouldn't promote the gigs. And then they get the hump, and they get angry at you, and then they would blacklist you from their future events.
Yeah.
And I remember, because I was the one who had to do a lot of the coercing with the promoters, and they'd always be like, you're like, oh, we're a band, we want to come out and play in Manchester, isn't any gigs come out? And it's always like, how many people can you bring? What can you do for us? And then the ones that would let you, again, you'd think they'd be out there, you think they'd be handing the flyers out, you think they'd be promoting it.
Yeah.
I've promoted gigs.
Yeah.
We've put them on, as I say, we've put them on together. I've done that at a loss, happily, because I wanted it to be fun, good nights with good crowds, and I've curated the bands so we'd have an out of town. I'd try my best to get an out of towner to give them a shot and get them into Liverpool. I knew that they weren't going to bring anyone. I knew they weren't going to. I'd get a new band, because new bands always bring a crowd in because it's their first gigs, and then obviously we'd play ourselves, and then I'd try and get a veteran band, or a band that's been going for a long time. So one band I picked out was it 7 Days a Night?
Was that at the Outpost?
Yeah, they were a classic industrial band at the Outpost.
They were alright.
They brought loads of people, and they'd not played in years. I didn't even know that when I picked them. You know what I mean? So I'd curate it carefully, and I'd be on their Facebook all the time, making the events, pushing it, making the posters, putting the work in. And I'd say to the bands, you sell your ticket, I'll give you the money.
Yeah,
I'll pay you. You know what I mean? I don't pay you, but I will give you your commission is your sale of tickets. Sometimes to help cover the deposit that we put in or something like that, I'd say like, look, sells five tickets. That's all. Zanzibar always wanted 20.
Yeah.
So it was always one of them. I feel like I can criticise promoters a bit because I've done it. And I can see it going wrong. One thing similar to that,
But
that
we
really
get people through the door on those gigs as well.
well, this is what I was going to say. Something that really would anger me about venues was pay at the door.
Yeah.
I hated pay at the door.
Yeah.
Because it was like the amount of times that I'd watch that door throughout the night, and I'd watch people approach that door, and the hand comes out wanting the 4 or 5 quid,
Yeah.
and they just they do a 180, walk straight back out.
Yeah.
It's like that's an audience member we've just lost it.
Yeah.
Because you put £4 at the door. Now, to be honest, you would have made much more than that if you just let them in for free.
Yeah.
Because you would have made your money behind the bar.
Yeah.
This is kind of the thing where I kind of wish promoters worked more with the venue, and it's like, we're bringing people into your bar, so maybe give us a commission off your, what you make off the till, or something like that. Something had to be worked out a bit better. If the door's not working, if you're not getting anyone through that door, drop that price, or scrap it completely, because at the end of the day, for me, it was the audience that I wanted, and there was quite a few gigs we lost out. Night and Day in Manchester was pretty full when we got there and loaded our stuff off. By about a certain time of the night, they chuck everyone out and say, you want to come back in, it's a couple of quid on the door. It just baffled me, because again, you would make that money at the bar. People, no one come, some people come in just to have the one drink. Some people, a drink is these days 4 quid, if more. You're gonna make that money back, and it just always frustrated the hell out of me. Why is this a system? Why is this a place? Some promoters that we worked with, there was one in particular, this company, this label that I think it's known there between. I've spoken to other bands about this. That they're known as a bit of a farce. Wanted us to sell tickets for £10. And I just straight up went. I remember my dad finding the tickets, being like, "Oh, how come you?" I went, "Dad, don't pay. I'm not charging you 10 quid to come see us, because we're playing Liverpool next week, and you can come see us for £4." You know what I mean? They really frustrated me. Anything else, promoters, unsupported bands?
I think they're part of a wider ecosystem that I think needs to change with music. Everybody who isn't a musician in music is essentially there to exploit musicians.
Definitely. There was a lot of I still get emails to this day. This is from the social media side, where it's we'll give you 2,000 views if you pay. It's all well, they're not real authentic views. They're bots. We got approached by, they'd make it sound glamorous, we want you on our label and all that, and we'd have a Zoom meeting with them, and they'd be like, oh yeah, so what you do is you give us 400 quid. They'd be like, no, shut up, no, not interested. Oh, no, don't care.
Do you remember that long email we got? And it was like, oh, Mr. X doesn't like to be kept waiting. You will turn off at 8:30.
Yeah, I think that was the same one. Yeah, we had a Zoom meeting, and they're like, so basically you give us, give us around £300 each, and you can record 2 songs with us, and then we will have the ownership of them songs. It was like, fuck off, you know what I mean? They're not doing that. Fucked. So my frustrations, to be honest, I think you've picked up on most of them. One thing I would like to say, and to be, it's good to kind of vent and get off my chest a bit, really, because I'm having the same issue with this podcast right now, is that you talked about unsupported bands, but I just think people in general, it's very hard to get someone to just support you. And at the end of the day, that's entirely their choice. But the example I'm going to come up here that kind of really rubbed me the wrong way once was when we kind of put on our socials that we were calling it a day, and we weren't playing it. We were no longer going to search for a drummer, and we were kind of packing it in for now. I got a lot of people coming into my messages. I got a lot of support, and people going, no, don't do this, why are you doing? And I kind of stood up to them a bit, and I said, I never saw you at my gigs. I never saw, you never checked out our music. You never, checked out our YouTube videos. You didn't even like us on Facebook. A lot, there was a few friends who did that, and I kind of did straight out, called them out, and went, well, this is why we've packed it in, because you never, don't be sad and don't be telling me, no, don't do that. Come on, you can't give up when you weren't there. And I think, like, in general, people do need to be a bit more supportive. And to be honest, I've got to be honest, like, I'm guilty of it myself. But I always feel horrible that I have to kind of cram things down people's throats. Like, I always have to send people links going, oh, please give this a listen and all that. And again, the one thing that I liked about the band was when we got to that point where we weren't having to do that, and we were getting approached. But to kind of get to kind of that, it's that starting off, it's getting over that first hurdle. It's pulling teeth. It's pulling teeth. It's pulling teeth to get people to like the Facebook page. It is like you'd have a better chance of getting blood from a stone to get people to come and watch you for 20 minutes play on stage. Like, it's always like, oh, I would do, mate. I'll try and get down. And like, you're there, and you're like, I know you're not gonna come. Like, don't, you don't have to string me along. Like, I don't want to be too negative. I don't want to sound like I'm bitching and being bitter, but I think that is like one of the biggest issues. I think when people are out there doing something creative, I think they should get some support. I think really. I mean, honest, just straight up honest.
I can remember putting everything on a playlist and just be, if you want to help us out, listen to it once a week, or even just put it on before bed.
I've said that. I've said that about this podcast. I think Spotify counts 60 seconds as a play. So I said, even if you don't want to listen to it, we're running over an hour and 40 minutes now.
Right.
But if you don't want to listen to a full 2-hour podcast, just give it a minute play. And that will feed into an algorithm, and then it'll start spreading like the songs did. The songs did that in the end, and like, a bit of behind the scenes, we never used, and I can proudly say, we never used bots. We never used stream bots, ever. I know people who have, because the thing is with Spotify is you can see other people's stats. People do that. We never did that, but we collaborated with other artists with playlists, and that's what got our music. It got to a point where we were getting more people in America listening to us than in the UK. There were more people around the world listening to us than in our own country, and that was through collaboration with other people. And all right, we had to listen to our own music once a day, but by doing that, it got us out there. It got us into other people's suggestions and on other kind of playlists and stuff. So, again, I don't want to just go on this big rant and be all bitter and down about it. But
true, I had a song out last week and it's had, I think, one or two listens so far.
Again, I'm guilty of it because I should have listened to it. I should have. I'm going to. I will.
No, I'm not saying that, but it's like I didn't put that much promotion into it, but it's still like, it should be, people should be getting alerted on the Spotify that you can pre-save it and stuff like that.
The problem I found with promotion, and I still do, is there's no real easy way to do it because social media is such a cesspool of advertising and spam and just full of shit, and the AI stuff's only making it 100 times worse now. The last thing you want to be doing is just spamming links everywhere and hey, check out my cool podcast, you know what I mean, check out my new song. People don't want that. That's how MySpace died, because it just got full of original bands that were just spamming. But, you get bands from Canada and all that going hey, we're a new band, check out. And you're like, what the fuck's this? Fuck off. You know what I mean? I've tried to push this on Reddit, and in a way it does help and it has brought people in. At the same time, I've got a lot of backlash from it. And there's people going stop putting your podcast on this group. We don't want to hear about it. Stop spamming us. It's a very delicate dance, isn't it? Once you've got over that hurdle and you've captured an audience and you're getting a regular amount of people tuning in, you're off to the races then. But it's that initial hurdle, and we had that with Saturn Split. We did, because again, when Family Values came out, all I could do was share the links to everyone, put it on groups, going, "Hey, we're a new band," and this, that, and the other. And once we were on these playlists, and once we were in that algorithm, and we were getting plays worldwide, I didn't have to worry about it so much. It was just a simple, Facebook post: "Our new singles out today."
Yeah.
I'd check the stats the next day, and it'd be like hundreds, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, this is great!" I'm loving it. Still to this day, Saturn Split is in a state of limbo at the moment. We'd probably say, it's nothing's going on. We're not active, like not publicly active anyway. We still are getting, on Spotify right now. Let me just pull it up.
It's not that big anymore.
It's not big, but it's about five listeners a month.
Yeah.
That's with nothing though. But that still means that 5 people out there in the world listen to our music.
It was 10 the other day. It was.
At the height, it was hundreds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At the height, it was hundreds. All the streams, we've got 32,000 streams.
Yeah.
At the height, we were doing great. Obviously, we've not released anything for years. We've been taking out the playlists now because we've not been active. But there's still like this little drip.
Yeah.
People are still listening. So but that was from the support. And again, it's hard because it's like, what can you do? You can spam the social media, you can tell your friends, but you're fighting against, there's 1,000 other original bands out there in your city.
There's
a million podcasts out there, it can go on and on.
Yeah.
But I think that was quite like a negative, emotional kind of, getting a lot off the chest bit there. I think we should end it on some positives. What were your most positive? We have gone into them a bit, but what were the? Give us 3 key things you've taken away from this kind of like whole experience in your life of being a musician.
Of just being a musician in general.
Yeah, your 3 kind of key or proudest things or key moments, or
Well, I suppose in a roundabout way, it's how I, in part, make me living now, teaching the guitar. So that would be one thing. I think getting heard on every continent except Antarctica. If you'd have told me when I was 13, you'll do that and you'll be listened to in New Zealand and Albania.
It's part of chasing the dragon, isn't it? Sometimes you do need to reflect a bit.
Yeah.
Again, this podcast, we get about 20% of our listeners come from America.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be humble.
Yeah.
And be like, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
A place I've never been to in my life. People I've never met listen to me weekly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I think my music at the moment has got like 2 or 3 monthly listeners. It sort of goes between 3 and about 8.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time they're coming from the US as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a bit weird when you think about with like Saturn Split. We were on the radio in Spain and New Zealand. We got heard on all these continents.
Yeah.
100,000 times. Back in the day, that meant you'd made it, basically.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Again, at one point, we were getting more listeners in America than we were in the UK.
Yeah. So to start, and I think seeing people turn up to the gigs specifically for us, that was satisfying, and seeing people knowing the songs as well and being recognised for all the work we'd put in. Because I'll be honest, there were times when in that first year or so I'd been at work all day and I thought I can't be arsed going to this tonight, but I'd turn up every week.
The practice. That was always a thing with practice. I felt that as well. It's like a Wednesday night, a bit like, oh, band practice tonight, but you drag yourself there, and you'd come out almost like like some people say, like a gym workout makes them feel. You felt like mentally you felt a lot fresher, didn't you?
Yeah. So I think that, and it was just it's the closest I've ever got to actually what I wanted to do with my life as well.
Yeah. Okay. I think for me, similar to yourself, really. I'm incredibly proud that I've got this legacy. In a way that my voice and the stuff I've created will hope. Well, really, in a way, it will outlive me. My voice will be out there in the world long after I'm gone. Although it's a very small footprint on a very massive beach.
Yeah.
I've put my footprint in the world of music, which has been, such a thing in my, like, it basically my whole life is around music. Like, every t-shirt I've got is some kind of band t-shirt, it's affected my entire life, and to say that I've got that footprint. I've done something, and I've put my name out there, and all right, and I'm not fucking the Red Hot Chili Peppers or like anything like that.
Yeah.
It's out there, and I've done something, and I've thrown my hat in the ring. That for me, I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of the music. Although again, I can be critical of it. I'm very proud of all the music I've done. And again, going back to what you said, like if I could go back in time and tell myself when I was 13 that I was in a band, and I played all across the various areas of the country, and people in America listen to my music, like my head would explode. You're always chasing that dragon, aren't you? Like, it's never enough, but you've got to step back and be like, what I did was great. Not a lot of people in the world have done that or will do that.
Exactly.
Playing live music again, playing on stages that some of my favourite bands, some of my biggest influences in life have shared. Night and Day, My Chemical Romance have played on that stage.
Yeah.
To kind of drive around cities and towns and be like, oh, I've played there, I played in that, I've done that,
yeah.
Eric's as well, I've played in Eric's. The Beatles played in Eric's, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they did, yeah. Some big bands have played in Eric's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been on the same stage as some of these bands. Again, it's a very small footprint on a gigantic beach.
Yeah.
But it's still a footprint. It's still, I've put my flag in the soil, kind of thing. And again, getting, as I say, I did go on a bit of a tangent about the support and that, but again, getting that support off people, getting that for people to say, I like your music, I like that song.
Yeah.
It'd be great to think out there that my music's done something for someone. If I could, if that's it, then I'm happy. I feel like it's a job well done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're the key things. It's been a more of a heavier. I didn't expect it to kind of go down this route, but I think this is a great thing about podcasts, really.
Yeah.
And I think to kind of like again to go back into like looking back on what you've done, compare this to like the first episode, and it's night and day.
Yeah.
I think we will wrap it up now. I think we've said everything we've needed to say. So. Thanks for coming on, Jamie. Thanks for that.
Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. So let's just use this now to try and get some support.
Yeah.
So what are you currently doing now in life? What do you want people to check out?
Well, so at the moment, I'm actually been on a little creative burst recently. So I've prepared tracks for us to hopefully record at some point.
Yeah.
Working on a couple of albums. So one I recorded years ago, but I'm sort of just for practice, really, re-recording it.
Yeah.
Just producing it myself.
Doing a Taylor's version.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then there's another, like a sort of concept album I'm working on as well. So the first, I didn't actually intend to release this song as a single, but yeah, it was out last Friday, called Dread.
What name's this under? Is this Sharkers Attack?
Yeah.
So Spotify, Sharkers Attack, new single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Apple, or iTunes,
or streaming.
All of them. Yeah. Bandcamp's the best because
Yeah, you should pay for it.
Yeah. I've actually had a few downloads off there.
Have you?
Yeah.
For the bank.
So yeah, I didn't intend that to be a release, but I liked how it came out, and it's not like previous stuff I've done. So I'd be curious to see what people thought. It's got a much more kind of
I'll link it in the description.
Yeah.
So new music on the horizon from Sharkers Attack. Your kind of your title for your kind of solo work.
Yeah.
I'll just say this now on the podcast. I don't think you've heard the end of Saturn Split. I don't want to be one of them bands that always teases the comeback and it never happens, because that's a common local original band's trope that happens. Oh, there was one guy in particular I really wanted to talk about on this episode. Oh, I don't know if it's too late to get into him now. Oh God, I'll save him for another time because he's a kooky. I don't know if you know about him. He's this kooky character on all these Facebook groups.
See, it only goes on about Judas Priest.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. I'll have to save him for another time. I've tried to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, I saw that.
I've tried,
yeah.
but he's not having it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've gone on long enough here. We'll wrap this up. So check out Jamie's music, Sharkers Attack.
Yeah.
You also do guitar tutoring, don't you?
Yeah.
Lighter Notes tuition.
Yeah.
So anyone who's local to that, who needs, kids, guitar lessons, anything like that.
Or maths or English.
Or maths or English.
The big
you've got a YouTube channel for that as well. I'll link all your stuff in the description. Please give Jamie a support. If you haven't already, check out Saturn Split. If you've not listened to us in a while, go and have a listen.
Yeah.
Again, all I'm saying is I don't think you've heard The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Please give the podcast a follow on Spotify. If you've listened to this all right to the end, give us a 5-star review, because that really does help. Really does. You can check out the YouTube, John's Jam Sessions. Check us out on all the socials. I've kept you there for long enough. Thank you. Goodbye.